The world you've heard about is just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the familiar stories, there are interesting facts that completely change the way we view wealth, power, and even life expectancy. Did you know that there is a country where middle age reaches 27 years old and that a single American state is worth more than 5 developed countries combined? This information is not only interesting, it's powerful. By discovering these hidden realities, you begin to see opportunities where no one else does. And the best part? You don't need years of study. Just absorb this knowledge and use it to your advantage. So, if you want to break away from conventional wisdom and understand how the world really works, hold on tight. What you're about to learn today is the kind of thing that few people know, and even fewer apply. Have you ever stopped to think about what it really means to be middle-aged? Well, in most of the world, we imagine that this happens around the age of 45 or 50. But in the Central African Republic, the curiosity is shocking. Middle-aged people reach the age of 27. This huge difference forces us to reflect on something profound. While some people plan to study abroad and go to graduate school, others are already in the middle of their lives. It's as if time passes at different rates, depending on where you were born. These disparities in health, nutrition, and access to basic resources shape what is possible to live and dream. Now imagine, if in your city a 27-year-old is thinking about buying his first car, there he is already considered a mature adult, often with a family and responsibilities that we can't even imagine. For those who like to delve deeper into this kind of curiosity, books like Factfulness by Hans Rosling offer a reality check and help us understand these differences without making hasty judgments. So, if here we postpone dreams thinking that it's still early, in other corners the race against time is much more literal. And this opens space for an even more intriguing reflection on monumental human constructions, which defy time itself. When we talk about grandiose constructions, we immediately think of the Great Wall of China winding through the mountains, right? But the interesting thing that few people know is that its length is greater than the distance from London to Sydney. It's as if someone decided to build a wall on the other side of the world, just to make it clear who was in charge. The feat is so grand that not even the Nile River, the longest in Africa, comes close. The wall is 3 times longer. And to think that, with all the current technology, building something like that would still be a huge challenge. In practice, it would be like building 50 Rio-Sao Paulo highways, one on top of the other. It's the kind of project that teaches us about long-term vision. It wasn't just about protecting the present, but about protecting future generations. Who knows, maybe this curiosity won't inspire you to think bigger. Whether it's in your life project, your career, or even something simple like that course you always put off. Have you ever stopped to list what your own Great Wall would be? And here's how curious it is. By studying these megaprojects, we begin to understand the logic of projects that span centuries, like the pyramids of Egypt or medieval cathedrals. And speaking of impressive constructions, get ready, because the next story is about a place so vast that, if it were a country, it would leave everyone behind. You know that feeling of traveling for hours and still being in the same state? Now imagine crossing Siberia, and continuing, as if the world had no end. The curiosity here is simply surreal. If Siberia were an independent country, it would be the largest of all, leaving even Brazil and the United States in the dust. Just thinking about its size makes you lose all sense of scale, right? But the most impressive thing is not just the size, it's the emptiness. Siberia is one of those places where nature screams louder than the cities. Imagine cities days away from each other, forests that seem endless, and temperatures that make your home freezer feel like a spa. And here's a practical tip. If you like this vibe of curiosity about immensities, series like Expedition Unknown on Discovery Plus are great for embarking on epic explorations without leaving the couch. And in the middle of this frozen vastness, there is a hidden wealth that many ignore. Minerals, oil, living history. But if you think this is gigantic, wait until you see how a single state, much more compact, manages to generate wealth like few other places in the world. We sometimes grow up hearing that Scandinavia is paradise on earth, perfect health, impeccable education, enviable security. And, in fact, they are models of quality of life. But here's an impressive fact. Adding up the entire economy of the Nordic countries, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland and Iceland, the value is still less than half of California's GDP. A single American state surpasses 5 highly developed nations combined. This is a great lesson in wealth and economic concentration. California is home to giants like Apple, Google, Tesla. It's like the financial and technological heart of the planet, beating at a fast pace. If you want a practical tip to absorb this power of innovation, start by studying Californian technology and entrepreneurship trends. Books like 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel are a good starting point for those who want to surf this wave of knowledge and curiosity. And if a single state can have more economic strength than several nations combined, imagine the impact that demographic differences can have. Especially when we are talking about places where people live almost 4 decades longer than in others. It's almost unbelievable to think that while in Monaco the average age is over 55, in Niger it's barely 17. This curiosity sheds light on completely different realities. In Monaco, life is about living long and having fun. In Niger, it's about surviving and resisting from an early age. Imagine living in a place where becoming a grandparent at 35 is normal. Yes, in Niger it happens. These differences are more than just numbers. They shape the culture, the economy, and even dreams. In Monaco, planning to retire at 70 is the norm. In Niger, the expectation is often to have children before the age of 20. If you want to delve even deeper into this curiosity, it's worth watching documentaries like Life in a Day, which show these parallel realities in a moving way that is very close to our reality. These contrasts also make us realize how much the structure of a society influences individual destiny. And speaking of small nations that surprise the world, get ready to discover how a tiny country can have a gigantic economic weight, much greater than that of the African giants combined. When we talk about economic power, the first image that comes to mind is giant countries, full of people, right? But here comes Switzerland to break everything. An impressive curiosity. With less than 9 million inhabitants, less than the city of Sao Paulo, Switzerland moves more money than 3 large African nations combined. It is proof that quality often weighs more than quantity. And what is the secret of this mini power? Innovation, political stability, cutting-edge education, and, of course, that Swiss way of doing everything with precision. If you want a practical example to apply this mentality to your life, start investing in high-quality skills. Learning languages, understanding investments, such as Swiss funds, and even studying international negotiations can open doors that many people don't even know exist. These are small actions that, added together, create a personal Swiss effect. And this is a huge curiosity for those who want to grow. Now, if Switzerland is already impressive for its tiny size and gigantic power, just imagine the surprises hidden in geographical details that almost no one notices on the map. When we look at a map, everything seems so obvious, doesn't it? Japan is up there, Dubai in the middle, Australia down there. But then something interesting comes up that turns everything upside down. The southernmost point of Japan is closer to the equator than Dubai. And there's more. Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, is closer to Perth, Australia, than to the trendy Sydney. It's amazing, isn't it? These details show how our perception of distance can be completely misleading. And knowing this isn't just useful for making conversation at parties. Understanding real geography helps with travel, international investments, and even career planning. Want a practical tip? Study maps with real projections, like the Peters projection. It's a lesson in curiosity about the world that changes the way we see business and cultural opportunities. Knowing where opportunities really are, what's far away and what's close, can be the key to moving forward more strategically in life. And when you understand these nuances, it becomes clear that the world is much more full of possibilities than it seems at first glance. Now tell me, after discovering so many interesting facts that most people don't even imagine, will you continue to see the world the same way? Or will you use this new perspective to make smarter, more strategic decisions in your life? The difference between those who grow and those who remain stagnant lies precisely there, in those who have the courage to see beyond the obvious. So, how about starting today? What can you change now, knowing everything you've learned here? Leave a comment. Which of these discoveries opened your mind the most? I'd love to read and exchange ideas with you. And, of course, if you want to continue exploring knowledge that really makes a difference, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, with each new video, you'll always be one step ahead of the majority.
Rocket.